I'm Ivy.
I'm Rachel, and we are Swords and Sapphics, a podcast all about representation, queer media, women with a capital W, and a little bit of nonsense.
So start sharpening your swords, sip your tea, and join us as we obsess over the wonderful beings that are women. Hello! We're back with the second episode of this season. Second season. Second episode of second season.
Yes, we are.
And
we have something extra special today.
we have an interview with Rebecca Thorne, the author of Can't Spell Treason without T. I did
Yay!
it. I wanted to now say the treason.
Yeah, Ivy says can't spell the treason without T, and I say can't. I just say treason T, treason
Yeah.
T, because I can't memorize that many words.
Yeah, as
Two different types of neurodivergent.
Yeah, as we established
correct.
in last week, we mentioned I love long titles. You're the opposite, and here we are. I want to make it as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but before we get into the interview, what media are you consuming this week, my dear?
I just finished finally, because I'm sure in last season I was saying I just started the American Roommate experiment.
Yeah, for sure.
I just finished it just now because I went through a really long part of my life where I just wasn't really in the mood for romance.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to really like get back into all the different genres on my book cart, and because I spend a lot of time with romance. I'm a romance author and I have a lot of romance books. But yeah, I wanted something nice and light this weekend, so I went back in with that. And you know what? Once again, I must say thank you to Third Act Conflicts. They give me all the pain and all the feels, and I love them very much.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
How about you?
Well, I'm reading Blackheart Nights by Laura Eve, which it's like sapphic urban fantasy where London has a king and the guards they're knights on motorcycles, and it's very intriguing. I started last night. I'm only on like little over 100 pages. But it's very good. And I already got a suffix scene. So I'm so ready to continue. It's quite good. It's first book of a duology. Yeah. So that's very exciting.
Very good.
Mm.
I don't. I last episode did I gush about the Invisible Life of Adila Rue?
I do not remember because I remember nothing. It's
I know, even though
possible. It's also possible you didn't.
I
Those are
feel
the
like I
two options
didn't.
I can give you.
I was trying to be short about it, but like I need to
Mhm.
talk about it a minute because over Christmas I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and it was one of the best books I've read for a while.
Mhm.
There's not the right words to say how good it was, but like I do think it's so important to read books that make you feel inspired again to
Mhm.
write. Like as an author, I feel like I'm always searching for that, and V.E. Schwab just gave me that with Addie LaRue. It was something. It was a really well written and well constructed book
Mhm.
about a girlie who makes a deal with a devil.
Yes.
She prayed to the gods after dark.
Mhm. And you should never pray to gods after dark.
And
Mhm.
she becomes immortal, but
No.
everybody who meets her
Yeah, forgets her.
forgets about her
And
until
she can't like write or paint because that will disappear.
yeah. And it's but then
Okay.
she's kind of in this stubborn place where she can't like the god is waiting to claim her soul, but
Mm.
she refuses to give it to him. Like she did this to live. So she finds like so much beauty in every aspect of life anyways. And girly, I would have killed myself long ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the best part of it. Like, she never gives up.
Yeah.
And then it makes this really toxic relationship, which we all love to see. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? Sometimes in fiction, toxic relationships are good ones. I'm just saying, I don't condone toxic relationships, but I do condone fictional toxic men who may or may not be demons. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Look, it is what it is. He has dark
Yeah,
hair and green eyes, if I remember correctly.
he does. Yeah. And he's
But
modeled after a fictional boy she used to draw in her
yeah,
sketchbook before
I
the
mean, what
deal.
more do you want?
Yeah. And a
Look, it's
simple
also
woman.
queer. She's queer. Henry, I
She's
believe too.
queer. Henry's queer.
Um, the issue of the writer is also queer. So like,
Yeah.
also, if you haven't heard about this book yet, what the fuck were you doing the past few years?
Yeah.
Really, like, no judgment, but I'm judging a bit. It's really fantastic, and I also like. I understand. I can see why some people did not enjoy it. Like, I feel like this one of the books that you love entirely with your entire soul and would die
Mm,
for it, or you just don't enjoy it at the least.
yeah.
Yeah. You gave me the book for birthday, actually.
I did, yeah. And then I got it for myself as well.
And I named my
Um,
dog after Adi.
you did, yeah. So every time I said something was happening to Addie in the book, there was a lot of confusion about which Addie I was referring to.
It was very confusing to me, like extremely. And also, I was reading a book at that point where also girly, like her middle name was Adi. And for a minute, she was texting under her middle name. So, like, at the same point, we had three Addies to talk about, and it was extremely confusing.
Yeah, too
Extremely.
many Addies. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a very good book. I would recommend it very much.
Mhm. Yeah.
What have you been watching? You finished Grey's.
I did.
She's in mourning.
I am, especially when it's coming back at the end of February, and I just seen a poster that says farewell, Meredith Grey's farewell to Seattle, and I'm just really heartbroken, and I don't want to move on from her. Like, she's my favorite character, without a doubt. I love her. I would die for her. But honestly, the reasons why she's leaving is in the show is just makes me love her even more. I'm very excited.
Oh,
I'm very sad. It will be painful. And you have to
yeah.
finish it to find out.
Yeah, I've not made much progress. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Yeah.
The last episode I watched was a lion attack, so things keep getting freaky deaky. And
But that was a good episode.
yeah,
So yeah, other than that, I'm still currently rewatching Baby Daddy sitcom. I'm still in the feels of a himbo hockey player. Like, that's all one wants in life, I feel. Yeah, that's it. I'm also, listening to podcast Office Ladies, which I feel like I have to hype because it's so much fun. If you're a fan of The Office, listen to The Office Ladies. Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey go episode after episode of The Office, and they give all the behind the scenes and how it was done and how it was shot and who improvised what. Now I know that it gives Oki Afterbirth is a line that Steve Carell improvised, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. I cannot stress it enough.
I still have yet to listen to other podcasts, which is really bad. But
Yeah. Um, now I'm 2 episodes ahead of you. With you watching The Office, I managed
mm,
to get to The Office Ladies, 2 episodes that you did not get to yet.
yeah, it is what it is.
Sorry.
Look, it's very rare I'm in the mood to watch The Office, but when I do, I really enjoy it. Like with everything at the minute, because Grey's has taken over my life. I was really enjoying This Is Us, but I can't tear myself away from Grey's for long enough, especially when I know that drama's on its way.
Yeah.
And we watched some good movie. Well, I watched a good movie recently. You've yet to watch it yet. We are planning our historical Sapphics episode. So we've been watching some Sapphic movies, one of which we didn't enjoy. We watched Carol together. And so you can expect to hear all about that
Yeah.
in
Next week.
Next week's episode.
Next week episode.
And but I also watched A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and I'll never recover. I'll never recover.
Yeah, I started watching The End of the World, The Edge of the World. How was it called?
The World to Come.
Yeah, that's it. The World to Come with Vanessa Kirby. I started watching that. Review pending. We'll see. We'll see. I'm 20 minutes and I have nothing else to say to that about that yet.
Yeah, you need to watch Portrait.
Yeah.
But yes. Shall we talk about Can't Spell Treason without T?
Yes, let's do it.
So by now our review will be up on our website.
Mm-hmm.
The Can't Spell Treason without T. But in case you can't be bothered reading it, we'll just give a little rundown.
Yeah.
Let's say what it's about first of all. It is a cozy fantasy, one of the few in its genre as of now, or its subgenre at least. It's sapphic. It is a pre-established relationship, so they're already in love, and they kind of want peace in a fantasy realm that isn't peaceful for them, because one of them is the guard for the queen and the other is a mage. So they build their own little tea shop and bookshop together and kind of find a family there in a small town. There's dragons, there's swords, there's schemes and heists, but most of all, there's just a lot of coziness and a lot of really beautiful writing and a really beautiful, healthy relationship in the center of it all.
And there are swords and there are suffix.
Yeah, exactly. It's very on brand for us.
Yes. I cannot stress just how much I love the book. Yeah. I cannot stress it enough. It's one of my favorite books of last year. I loved every minute of it. It was just so, when you read it, you just smell the cinnamon buns and coffee and tea, and it's just so vibey and so fucking good. So good. Yeah. Yes. Well, for more eloquent words of mine about just how much I enjoyed the book and we enjoyed the book, take a look at our review on swordsandsuffix.com. I said it correctly.
You did.
And I finally learned our own URL.
Finally. She made the website, guys.
Yeah, and I bought the domain. So, like, I spent enough time there to know. And yet, here we are.
Yeah. But soon, the second book will be out, A Pirate's Life for Tea. Is it called that?
Let me check, because I also have the date. It's called A Pirate's Life for Tea. Yes, it's coming out on February 23rd. So ready.
Yay!
I cannot stress it enough. It's a second book in the series. It's a follow-up, but there will be pirates. And I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm so excited. Did I mention I'm ready and excited?
And the cover is very beautiful, so if you haven't seen it yet, you must go and take a look at it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our interview with Rebecca. Please enjoy.
Let's do it.
3 neurodivergent brains trying to talk together.
Welcome. We love having you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Extremely excited because this book really went to the top books of this year that I read. And it was really one of those books that I really loved reading, but I somehow loved even more after I finished reading it because it was still in my head and I couldn't get rid of it. And I just really adored it. So really fucking much. So
oh my gosh,
just pure perfection.
Lovely.
So my question really is, what was inspiration behind this book and why did you choose cozy fantasy?
Okay, so no surprise to anybody who's read the book and found the acknowledgements. It was Legends and Lattes. That's just obvious to state, you know, and I'm very fortunate to have started a dialogue early with Travis Baldry about it. So he knew that I was starting to write it, and then he knew that I was finishing it and that I was going to self-publish it. And he's been so encouraging and amazing just every step of the way, which
Mhm.
was very nice. His book just hit the New York Times bestseller list, and
I
I'm
saw
so
it. It's
excited
amazing.
for him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, I just like, I feel like I'm like this fangirl who's just amassing copies. Like I have like the indie copy, and then I went and I bought a copy of Barnes and Noble because it's got that
Mhm.
short story in it. And then I went and I bought and I just got like, I have a special order UK cover coming in from the UK.
Oh, beautiful.
Just like, oh
I'm
my
really
God,
jealous. Yeah.
I'm so excited. The UK cover is so pretty. I'm like, oh, so jealous. Anyway, so yeah, so it was Legends and Lattes, but the reason I picked it up at all in the bookstore is because I found it in a Barnes and Noble in a time when I was in traditional publishing, and like
Mhm.
I'd spent the last 7 years doing traditional publishing, having a literary agent, sending my books to editors or to publishers, and hoping one of them buys it, and getting turned down. I sold one. And that was a good experience, but it wasn't the experience I was really hoping for with Trad Pub. Like you go through all that work and you're expecting to be a famous author, right? And feel like a famous author because you got traditionally published, and it didn't really feel like that for me. So I was already kind of disenchanted with traditional publishing anyway. And then I went into Barnes and Noble and I found Legends and Lattes, and I was like, isn't this book self-published? And I picked it up and I like read the back, and I've like checked online. It was like, is this book self-published? And I think that was the moment for me, like standing in that Barnes and Noble, that was the moment where it just clicked for me that I was like, holy crap. I'm like, you can get your indie books in Barnes and Noble. And I knew that before, but like I didn't know it before, I guess.
Mhm.
More than that, I picked up the book and I started to read it, and I saw the, high fantasy with low stakes. And then I started reading it and I saw him defining it as a cozy fantasy. And like I've been in traditional publishing, like publishing is my passion. I'm getting my master's degree in it. And I did not expect there to be a genre for cozy fantasy. Like that genre, in the definition that he created for it, didn't exist before that point.
Mhm.
So like I reached out to him just on the basis of like, what is cozy fantasy? How did you do this? Like, how did you get this book published? I heard it's picked up by Tor. How did that happen? And then it just kind of spiraled into like, well, if this is going to become a genre, I want to get a book out there in this genre because I love this genre. And I feel like if I start quickly and move fast, that's traditional publishing's big flaw. Like they can't move
Mhm.
fast. They can't pivot quickly. So like in 5 years, guaranteed, we will be seeing a whole cozy fantasy section in Barnes and Noble. But right now it's not there, and it won't be for 3 or 4 more years. So in my mind, I was kind of like, if I pivot and self-publish, I might be able to get into a space that he's created that I can actually take advantage of, and then, become a name in, I guess.
Mhm.
So it was more of like a marketing pitch in that regard. But I mean, I was really lucky because I was able to leave my literary agent in April and just kind of move into there. And I'm lucky that I write fast,
Mhm.
and all of my bets have been paying off, which is
Yes.
nice. So,
I read your books before Legends and Lattes, which I finished
oh wow.
last night,
Oh my
and
God.
it really like I now want more of it, and especially
Right?
because both of these were Suffolk, and I'm like, I need more, but there isn't, and I really, really can't read anything else right now than that.
I know. Well, and it's interesting because I was just reading this thing from another author that sent me where like a lot of newer authors are always afraid to write the same thing, right? Everything has been done before. It's the same thing. If I write this once, I'm done. But like as readers, we find something that we love and we're like, okay, let's find 17 more things like exactly like this. Like I just want things exactly like this.
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
feel like that's what the cozy fantasy genre has become. Like we all want those cozy, quiet, low stakes stories that have dragons in them. And like that didn't exist before, like you
Mhm.
couldn't just find a slice of life before Legends and Lattes.
Yeah.
So I don't
And
know.
Especially with, I was going to say, especially
Right?
with, we were probably going to say the same thing, especially with queer stories, because, there's so little out there in general, especially even in the fantasy genre. But now we get like the queer joy that we've always wanted, and we get it set in a fantasy world, which is usually reserved for a lot of trauma and angst and stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, how much has LGBT, the cottagecore vibe taken over? Just like everybody
Yeah.
wants to run away with their partner into the woods and open up a coffee shop. Like
Mhm.
everybody wants that. Like
Yeah.
we all dream of that day that we can just be like these hermits in the woods with our dogs and our coffee and our books. I mean,
Yeah, and especially like I've read a series of extremely heterosexual love stories, which I usually enjoy, but then sort of you need a break from it, usually with fantasy. But high fantasy takes so much brain power that I right now just don't have. And jumping into this, not only that I get a queer story, which made me sob, but also like I could enjoy the fantasy aspect without having to think about it too much.
Exactly.
Which was glorious.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm like and it's funny because even from the time that I started writing, I think I was meant for this genre because from like the very moment that I started writing, everybody I knew was writing like really heavy stuff, right? Like angst and grief and death and violence and war and assassins. And I'm just over here like, what if there's a school for spies and they just play pranks on each other all the time? Like, what would those pranks look like? You know?
Yes.
Like literally, like that's what I was writing at 16 years old. So I'm glad that there's, you know, like I learned how to build up the stakes over time, but like I'm glad that there's a genre where I can dial that back down because it feels like I'm getting back into my roots.
Yeah,
wonderful.
And it's amazing to see like this new exploration because I'm an author as well, and I've just got into trad pub, so
nice.
It's like,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. You kind of like
Honeymoon for One came out November 1st.
Yeah,
it's up.
there it is.
Oh my gosh. Honeymoon for One. Okay. Oh my gosh. Hang on. I'm about to write that down. Sorry.
It's sapphic. It's Christmassy. It's wonderful.
Christmassy. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm gonna go buy this.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, like when you kind of get ready to go into traditional publishing or even self-publishing, you kind of feel like you have to follow everyone else but make it different as well. And there was just no room for that like a year or so ago. You never saw that like that kind of subgenre that was so like different than what it in a way it's kind of genre defying.
It really is. Yeah. Well, and trad pub, I again like I said, I'm getting my master's in this. Like trad pub is such an interesting field because like there's, you know, I'm this weird person who like I found a lot of success in indie, but I love trad pub. Like I straddle the line because I think there's benefits to both industries depending on the kind of author you are, you know, and I think that like I'm one of those people that writes books quickly and I don't really do well with like oversight unless it's like super encouraging oversight. Like you're the author, you can do anything you want, make it happen. But like my agent was starting to feel, I felt like she was starting to put me in like a middle author range in her brain. Like she was like, oh, she's not a bestseller yet. It's been 4 years. She's probably just going to be this. And I was just like, no, you know, like, no, I don't accept that. And, you know, not to say that I'll ever find any kind of crazy success, but like, at least I'm trying, you know? But yeah, it's interesting to watch traditional publishing try to, you know, they walk this line where they want to find the fresh, the new, the exciting, right? The next Hunger Games, the next Twilight. But then they're also afraid to take risks in a way that like indie authors just aren't, because we lose nothing, you know, like we lose nothing by trying. So why not put your personality out there and see if it fits, you know, if there's a niche for people who like that. But trad pub, like, you know, they're very much like, here's the set release dates that we have, here's how we want you to promote for it, here are the dates we're allowing you to promote these things. Like we didn't get to do my cover reveal until about probably 2 months before, but it was like a very stringent thing. Like I was sitting on that cover for like 4 months before I had the chance to actually reveal it to the world. Whereas like the day I got my cover finalized here, I threw it out there on TikTok and like started spreading it around. And then I went back in and I made edits to it. And I was like, just kidding, this is the real one. And then I had to go back in and like delete all those old videos, you know, or like edit them and be like, this isn't the final cover. Which was very unprofessional, but helped get my book's image out there before anyone was even talking about the book, you know, and I think that is a better marketing strategy for me. It's just interesting to see how different industries do it differently, you know.
Yeah. One of the things that this book was also very unique to me was that when we meet Reina and Kianthe, how do you pronounce it? Yeah, they're already in a relationship for 2 years, and usually in love stories you're sort of like they get to know each other and you slowly watch their love story turn out. But this was very fresh in this, like they had their communication set up and ready, they knew each other, and it was very it was very warm and unique, and I really loved it. And what was the choice behind this?
Well, and that's interesting. I almost feel like I should do a prequel series at some point, or like a prequel book.
Yes,
I wrote a prequel short story and it's available on my website. but you know, just like the day that they met, like the day they like locked eyes across the room, you know. But I don't know, I think I'm at the point in my life where like I love the meet and greet stories, but I don't feel like I see a lot of established relationships happening hardly ever. So like when I think about it, the last probably 3 books that I've written, and probably in the next like 3 that I have planned, they all have very established relationships, because I think that it's more interesting to see people struggling to keep those relationships. Like I think I've taken a focus in the last several, like I do, like I go to therapy all the time. I love therapy. So like, but the psychology of it is why I love it. You know, like I think it's so interesting to see. And so I've been paying a lot more attention in therapy about the ideas of like how happily ever after is very rarely happily ever after, and like the struggles that people go through in their relationships as they move through that happily ever after moment, you know, like once they tie the knot and they're committed to this person, what are the next big steps? And there's a lot of them, you know, and there are arguments that come up all the time between these couples, and I think that it's important to show that, because like for me, I had this idea when I was younger that like once you find your person, you're good, check the box and you're done, you know. And like I didn't realize how much work a relationship takes over many years, you know, like, and over a lifetime, you know. And so I think that showing the communication style ingrained in this relationship, showing how they still have arguments as they're trying to figure out how they can live together for the first time, you know. They're doing their first big trip in the second book, so it's a lot of like figuring out how they travel together, figuring out how, which like they've done before, but not to this caliber. You know, and then there's a sub arc in the second book about how Reyna is trying to figure out who she is when she's not being the Arkandor's fiance. You know, like she's trying to figure out how she can become her own person and pursue her own goals without just being like the +1 on the arm of the Arkandor, you know. And I think that that's going to be a very interesting exploration for her. So I think that I don't know. I think there's a lot of topics in established relationships that people aren't really tackling because it's so fun to show the meat. And I love the meat, but I think we need more representation about the reality of what happens after.
Yeah, we were talking about it with in our previous episodes, like even with friendships, we don't see the communication when it comes to a problem, like when there is an issue. And it's so refreshing to see it. And especially like we were talking like last night, there was this part of their conversation when they said like you cannot be your partner's entire life. And it was exactly. such a not a detail, but it's something that you don't really think about when you think of relationships in books or stuff.
Well, and it's so true. I mean, there's one line in Treason and Tea that I just absolutely adored. And I wrote, and it said, you know, Reyna's talking to Kianth, and then she, you know, Kianth was like about to help her like get some like ideas for like hobbies and stuff, and Reyna kind of walked her back from that ledge and was just like, and then in her mind she thought, I can't replace the queen with the Arkandor. And I just love that, because like in my mind that's exactly what Reyna's entire struggle in life is. Like she loves Kianth, she wants to be a part of her life, but Kianth is this very powerful figure, and there's a power imbalance just by definition, you know. And like in my mind, Kianth, like when you put them side by side, and in Kianth's mind, they're both like, they both have their abilities, their strengths and their weaknesses, and they complement each other. But Reyna was raised in a court, and she can never not see those power dynamics at play. So I think that that's a very interesting struggle for her specifically, because, you know, as much as Kianth loves her indubitably, she still has to figure out who she is without her, you know. And I love that.
Yeah. Dude, it was really, again, like it was such a layer in the characters that I wouldn't think of. Even like it really surprised me how in depth that was. Really just amazing. Yay. Yeah, amazing.
Thank you.
I was wondering what kind of research went into the book, because there's a lot there about like refurbishment, and then also like obviously the tea in the books and how the merchant side of it kind of comes into play. And then you have like the mythical lore as well. So like was that a lot of research? Did you just kind of go with it as you went, or?
I winged it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate because I've done a lot of different fields in my life, which I highly recommend for any new authors listening to this. Like, explore everything. Because I'm a realtor, I'm a flight attendant, I've done, you know, graphic design work, I've done marketing, I've started businesses, you know, like, and I think all of those things have helped me kind of put this type of book into play, where it's like, if you're going to be doing, you know, refurbishment, if you're going to be taking over, you know, like buildings, like I didn't want it to just be like they showed up and there was this building magically there. I wanted them to have like a reason for why they got it, and it's like less than ethical, you know. And I think, you know, between like the politics of the worlds and the way that the merchants are set up, I was trying to think of how these two countries who like are at peace, but like are at peace, you know, like with the quotes, like how could they be trading between the two of them? Like what resources does this country have that this country may not? How can this character who's from this country get resources from this country without being like, you know, neglected, I guess, because she's from this country that's at peace, but not really, you know. And it was just interesting to kind of explore all of that stuff. But it was a lot, you know. I mean, like, I love teas. I experiment with them all the time. My go-to is like if I have a celebration, we go to afternoon tea, and like we get all dressed up and we put on the hats and we go and we have afternoon tea at some place. So yeah, every year we take my mom for her birthday to a different tea house around the country. So we've hit up, you know, like Albuquerque, and we've hit up Utah, and we've hit up Denver, and we've hit up DC, you know, and that, I don't know, like that was always very near and dear to me, the idea of like tea and the conversation that you have along with it. So yeah, I was lucky that I just had all that stuff just kind of sitting in my brain, I guess. So
I have to
as
say,
a British person, yeah, as a British person, it makes me very happy to hear that you love tea.
I love afternoon tea. Yeah. Like I can't wait to get to England someday and actually have proper London
English breakfast tea.
Yeah,
you don't need much milk. Don't put much milk in it.
I was like, yeah,
that's my tip to you.
You know? Yeah, I'm like, I adore it. Well, and if you have any like tea recommendations to like go to out there, I am going to be going to Europe this summer. So
excellent.
Yeah, so like send me some recommend. My ideal right now, I really want to go to. So in Slovakia, there's a hotel in the Tatras Mountains called the Grand Hotel Kempinski, and they do afternoon tea right on their lake, and or like in their thing looking out over the lake. And I'm just like, yes.
Yes, so when you're stepping by in Slovakia, how about Czech Republic?
I'm at the Czech Republic. Yeah, my whole family's from Czechoslovakia way back when.
Really?
So, yeah. So
I'm
so like I like very legit. I love that area. Like we eat pierogies all the time. We have palachinki, you know, like I love that. You know, my mom my grandmother makes kolaches every Christmas. So
that made me happy for a change.
Slovakia was on my list because we have land somewhere in Slovakia. Like I have the name of the town. I think it's called Muran, Muran. We have like a deed for land out there, and like of course we never do anything with it, but like I want to go see what it is. You know,
you should open a tea shop there.
That'd be well, for all I know, it's probably a parking lot now. You know, like I probably would go there now and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. On that subject, what is your favorite tea?
That's really tough. It depends on my mood and it depends on the day. During the daytime, I love chai because it's got the caffeine. I found we actually, for my birthday this last year, I was very lucky to go with a big group of girls to Banff, Canada. And so we stopped at a tea house in Banff. And I got this, it was like a vanilla cinnamon chai there. And it was like incredible. Like I actually came home and I was like Googling whether or not I could order it, and you can, but like it's crazy expensive because it's shipping international. And I was like, damn it, you know, gotta go back to Banff. Oh no, you know. But yeah, at the evening times when I'm trying to wind down, I think it's definitely a chamomile mint or a lavender mint. I love mint. I love the mint tea.
Yeah, so. I'm peppermint. Yeah.
I don't drink tea. I don't like tea. No, but the book gaslit me into thinking I love tea, and I drank tea for the entire day. I drink tea. Yeah, I drink tea only when I'm not feeling well. And suddenly for the entire week when I was reading the book, I was drinking tea. I'm like, there's something wrong here.
Yes, no, something very right.
Yeah, and I had lavender tea because I love lavender. So at least some joy.
Lavender is just I love it. Yeah, there's we have a timeshare at a ski resort in Virginia, and there's a lavender farm right around the corner from it, and I go there, and we always go in like January, so like there's never anything there because it's January, but like I love it. I go there and they have all this lavender stuff for sale, and I buy all the stuff.
I love it.
Lavender is great.
Amazing. Yeah, there's one city in Czech there. They have like this delicious lavender ice cream that's huge. And when I had it like a few years ago, it felt like a new part of my brain unlocked. And now I cannot live my life without more lavender than before.
That sounds wonderful. Where in the Czech Republic are you?
I'm in Prague.
Prague,
the
okay.
city center. Yeah,
Prague is like top of my list to visit. Like, it's like Switzerland, and then Prague is like right there next to it.
Second, huh?
Well,
okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind hitting it first. I just, when I think of like vacation, I think of like nature, like outdoors.
I get it, yeah.
You know, and so when I think of that, of course, I think of Switzerland.
Yeah,
but Prague, when I think of cities to visit in Europe, Prague is number one for the city.
Yeah.
So.
We already have snow now, so we're getting into the Christmas part of Prague, and it's amazing.
You guys have like a lot of like lights that kind of come out and like deck the town.
We already have decorations everywhere, like in the shopping centers and stuff. When I went out once in the year, I already sent Rachel a bunch of pictures of Christmas decorations.
I'm sitting here and I'm just like thinking of my December schedule, and I'm like, when can you take a trip to Prague?
Amazing.
That's like so much fun.
I have also one question about the genre. Like, are you deciding to stay in it then?
Yeah, for a while. I'm commitment phobic, so I don't ever commit to one genre. Like I've been, and I love that because I think that it makes me a better author overall, because I've tried many different genres. So the cozy fantasy space, I'm definitely going to finish out this series. And I have 4 books tentatively planned. I have 4 ideas for a book that I think I'm going to work into a series. So the second
Merry
book
Christmas
is
to me.
See, there you go. Well,
Amazing.
and I'm planning on releasing 2 next year, if I can keep that schedule. So I'm writing the second book now. It's going to be about pirates on the river, in a land where like river pirates do not exist, but this girl just decided she's going to be a pirate on the river. So,
I feel blessed.
And then I've been running into the problem of like, how do they sail a ship on a river because there's no wind? So I'm just like, oh shit! Like there's a reason they're not river pirates. It's fine.
Get her a wind mage.
Yeah, I'm like wind mages. It's fine. Yeah, I think I'll probably do a rewrite and make that a priority for her to get a wind mage to come in. But yeah, and then the third book I want to do rock climbing in one of the islands down south. So I'm thinking, because I love to rock climb, so I'm thinking it's going to be about a girl who's watched all these like adventurers go up into the mountains and die because they don't know how to rock climb properly. And so she's going to establish like a little like makeshift gym to like train you how to rock climb so that you don't die in the mountains. And it's just going to be like a fun kind of like another business establishment type cozy fantasy, but with a little bit more stakes in the regards to like rock climbing. And then the fourth book, I think we'll probably bring it back to Tawny. And I'm going to introduce an heir, I think, like the heir of like, you know, like the secret heir of the queendom. So I think I'll probably have some kind of power overthrow political play in the fourth book. But yeah, and then after that, I'm like, I've got another book, like a fantasy horror book that has way higher stakes. Like it's very high stakes. It's normal, typical fantasy. And that one's going to be sapphic as shit. And if you like Arcane, the characters are basically from Arcane.
Arcane.
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
I want to cry with happiness right now. Everything you said, I'm so excited, and I cannot get my hands on it faster.
Well, I'm hoping the Arcane one will be good. I'm using it as my thesis novel for my MFA. So like once I finish that book, I'll have my degree. But I'm planning on publishing that book over the summer. And then next fall, I want to write another Treason and Tea book, and you know, the rock climbing one, and hopefully have that one out in the winter months sometime.
Oh.
So yeah, that's kind of. I also have another book that's sitting on ice that's already done, and like it's amazing. It's like nothing. It's like my claim to fame. This book is like it's got 3 different timelines. It's got multiple characters. It's got omniscient narration. It's got footnotes. It's very Good Omen style. But it's so weird that it's going to be very hard to market if I don't have like a built-in fan base already. So like, I think people who read my stuff are going to read it and be like, what the fuck? It's amazing. But like, I got to get the fan base built up first with other books before I can throw that one at them, because it's going to be weird. So
exciting. I'm excited for all of it, honestly. I'm the type of reader that once I finish your book, even though it came out now, I want the other immediately, like right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where like the self-publishing comes into play a lot, because like like Travis, now that he's gone traditional, he's going to, I mean, he already submitted his second book to his editor, but I guarantee you it's probably going to be another year before that book comes out because they just released the first one, you know? Whereas by the time his new book comes out, I'll probably have 3 more already sitting out, you know, doing their own thing. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's just, you know, again, it just depends on which path to take, you know. I mean, I write books very quickly and I like seeing the fruits of my labor fast. So
Me too. Thank you.
yep.
I was wondering if there was any like inspiration for the setting and the world building, because I'm a gamer, so I was in Skyrim when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
I'm in Skyrim.
Yes.
Because of like the dragons and the little villages and stuff.
Yeah. I did World of Warcraft for years. I couldn't get into Skyrim because it's too open world without the interaction of, you know, like I had friends in World of Warcraft that I'd log in to see every day. And so like that was definitely like I would love to get into Dungeons and Dragons, but I can't commit to a weekly schedule of it to do a full campaign. So like it's really kind of because like my schedule's all over the place. So one day I would like to join a Dungeons and Dragons group. But Skyrim was a little too big for me. I opened the world and I was like, oh no. I like backed right up and I closed the game down. It's too big. There's too much going on. So yeah, the open world, you know, especially because like I'm a low-key completionist. So like if I'm working to fight it. So like I don't complete things most of the time, but like I always want to. So yeah, I don't really think there was too much inspiration. I just kind of tried to come up with a very cookie cutter box fantasy that had elements that were unique, you know, so it would feel familiar and not hard to get into, but also new and fresh in certain ways. So I think that was kind of where I did it. You know, I was just like, I knew I wanted dragons. I always throw dragons in. If I can have dragons in a book, I will. And I feel like even in sci-fi, I'll probably find some way to add dragons into like my sci-fi books in the future.
I saw
alien
I
dragons.
feel in Percy Jackson there is mechanical dragons, so like
yeah. I'll probably just like throw them into space and be like, they're aliens, but they're dragons.
Or exactly.
So yeah, I don't really, there's not really too much about the inspiration of the world. It was just very like as cookie cutters I could get with as many unique things that I could put in there. So
are you planning then on introducing some other like mythical creatures and stuff?
I think so. I think the rock climbing book is going to have a phoenix. I know, I love that. I don't really think that I'm going to have anything in the pirate book because the point of the pirates is more about like the interplay between the political side of Shapara. Like that country I feel like was like in the first book, it was like the queendom was bad, Shapara was good. And like that was very much like the dichotomy that was kind of presented. But I wanted to dive more into how like, because Shapara was arguably more like the United States, where it's like you elect a council, you have, or like parliament, right? You know, I wanted to kind of show how that can corrupt too. So I am going to be diving into more of that kind of corruption, low-key, under the surface in the second book with the pirates. So there's not really too many mythical creatures that come into play there, except for the baby griffin, which is really fun to play with. So like Condor, the baby griffin, is like, she's just flying around the whole time and she's causing all kinds of mischief because she's a baby, you know? So, so yeah, I'll have phoenixes, I think, in the second book, and then definitely dragons or phoenixes in the third book, and then definitely dragons in the fourth book again. So
wonderful.
Amazing. We usually talk about what we've been watching or reading or anything this week. So what have you been obsessed with recently?
I'm in a coma after Nona the Ninth. I'm in a coma after Nona the Ninth. Like I literally I have the Sunbearer Trials. I have that sitting on my nightstand and I keep looking at it and I'm like, tonight's the night, and then I'm just like, but Nona. Like, so
I have Gideon the Ninth next to me still on my TVR, so I'm excited.
It's so good. Listen to the audiobook. The audiobook is
I have the audiobook already. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Happy to hear
love
that.
it.
Wonderful.
That book is so good.
Yeah. Well, this kind of coma I've got after Can't Spell the Treason without T. So thank you.
Oh no, that wasn't the point of that book.
No, I kept having the book next to me and just staring at the cover, and all I wanted was to just say goodbye to my life and go to Scotland, open books. I need people I hate people.
Do
I don't
it.
want to spend time with them, but suddenly I wanted to sell books to them all day.
Yeah, people are great. Book
Yeah.
lovers are great. I would sell books to book lovers all day long.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been such a joy and
Yeah,
amazing
oh
to
my
meet
God,
you.
thank you guys so much for having me. This was wonderful.
We're happy
was
to have
like-
you again if you'd like.
I
Like
was
this,
so
this has been
excited
such
to
a joy.
see. Oh my gosh, I was so excited to see your podcast. There was like sapphics and swords. I'm like, yes. I want all of those things all the time. So I will be
Precisely.
definitely tuning in to get wrecked.
When we were trying to think of the name, I was like, we have to have swords and we have to have suffix and Rachel swords and suffix. I'm like,
Yep.
yes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Clean cut, easy to understand. I love it.
And you are the most perfect guest because you're the first guest with books that feature swords and sapphics.
Yeah, that's true.
Sapphics,
That's also
yes.
true.
Everything I write will have swords and sapphics in it. Don't worry.
Thank you
Again,
for blessing us.
Bless you. Yes.
You're welcome.
Incredibly blessed.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so excited to go and get your honeymoon for one book. That book sounds
Oh, thank
fantastic,
you.
and it's going to be amazing. I'm amassing like a bunch of like those like the cozy, sapphic romances to read over the holidays. So like after I finish
Yes.
writing the second Treason and Tea and I need a palate cleanser, I'm saving those books for my palate cleanser. So I'll add that one to my little list here, and I'll be able to read it, enjoy it
Yeah, you
over December.
It's amazing. It's filled with puns. Chianti would love it. All the puns.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes, I love that.
It has puns, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love
And
that.
I did-
Puns are the way to get me.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
I did use the Banff as inspiration as well, which you mentioned earlier.
Oh
It's-
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I am thrilled to read it. It'll sound so good.
And not to brag, but my name is in the acknowledgements. And that's
Hey.
my that's my big thing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
made it.
Oh my gosh. If my beta reader was like more social in this regard, like she's an engineer, so she's very like introverted. But if she was like more out there, I think we probably would start a podcast very similar to this and just like just go,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. This has been real joy.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's been so
And we're
lovely.
yes, and we're excited for more. Well, that was our interview with Rebecca. I hope you enjoyed it because I sure as hell did.
Ivy really, really, really did. And of course, so did I. But,
Yes.
Ivy was the one to make this happen because she read it before me and she was like, we must talk to this person and get them on the
Well, I'm gonna
podcast."
tell the story because it's one of my favorites because it makes me feel very good about myself. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I read the book. I love the book. I found Rebecca on Instagram. I started following her from our podcast Instagram. She followed us back. So I was like, hey girly, would you be into inviting her? And you were, yeah. Hell yeah. So I did. And she said yes. And now we're here. And I was very excited. I'm still very excited about it.
Yeah. It is a very exciting thing. I love talking to other authors and especially authors of books that I really adored.
Yes.
Like it's just
Oh, God,
it's so
yes.
exciting and we're so very grateful that we got to this place because I said it before, but like this really did start out just the two of us being like, we have a lot of things to say. We may as well start a podcast and let everyone else hear our chaotic thoughts and stream of consciousness. And it's very exciting that we got here because we've been before anything else, we were book lovers. Like we both had our Bookstagram accounts. Like we formed a friendship over our love of books. So it's just very special that we got here.
I know. And I'm not gonna lie, I talked to you about it before. Like it gives me a little teeny tiny superiority complex. Like the fact that I get to finish a book, love it, and hit the writer like, hi girlie, would you like to talk to me about it? Pick your brain, normal.
Yeah.
Though I do have to add one thing because it really bugs me. When we were talking to Rebecca, we were talking about the origin of our name, Swords and Suffix. And I said it wrong, and I realized it when I was on a walk random day. And it really bothered me, so I have to fix that. So, when we were talking about the podcast, and I said, we have to have knives there, something sharp, and to be clear that we're queer. And then you said swords and suffix.
And that's how I became fixed. I can live now. I said it wrong in the interview. Now I'm happy I can move on.
Actually, we did start out as sapphics and swords, and then I was on my walk and I texted you like, no, that swords and sapphics sounds better.
Yeah.
It's surprising how long it took us to get to the swords part. I mean, most of our first season was dedicated to Villanelle, who does not have swords, but she does have sharp objects.
Yeah.
But I think this is our first episode centered so around our brand.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be correct, actually. To be fair, I did forget all of our previous episodes, so I don't think I'm a good judge of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I don't have, I have sharp sword. No, I don't. And neither do I have a sharp mind. Anyway, I'm sick. I cannot talk. Okay. There you go. I went there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't have everything in life.
That's true. That's very much so true. I have to also add, I'm incredibly excited about all the projects Rebecca mentioned. She mentioned that she's writing something along the style of Arcane, which is a show based on Legends. Wait, League of Legends is the game, and it's a Suffolk show, by the way. There is what's her name? Haley Steinfeld.
Oh yes,
she voices Vivian. There's also her skin on Fortnite, and it's such a great show. It's animated show. It's fucking amazing. There is some kind of, they're queer. They're gonna end up together. I'm very ready for it. So I'm ready for that.
Haley Steinfeld's doing the most for the queer people. What was the other show? Dickinson.
Yeah.
She's queer in that as well.
Yeah.
We love to see it. I mean, and there's something just inherently queer about Pitch Perfect, even though very few of the girls are actually queer in it.
There was a queer kiss apparently between Anna's character and Brittany Snow.
Oh.
They apparently there was a kiss deleted scene, but they deleted it clearly because they said it's a deleted scene.
I grew up in the Becca Chloe revolution. Like people really, really was obsessed with them and wanted them to be together. And it was very like queer. They one of the first scenes together, they were naked in the shower together, singing to each other.
Yeah,
like it's very queer, and we could have had it all.
Yeah, it's true.
But we shan't get into that now.
Yes, we're still with.
Should we do an episode about analyzing Becca and Chloe's homoerotic relationship in Pitch Perfect?
Yeah.
Do you have any tea for us, Ivy?
Oh, I think I spilled all of it last week, and that was, there was a lot of it. I cannot think of any.
No, I mean right now, book Twitter and writing Twitter, there's still the drama of authors reading reviews. Authors don't read your fucking reviews, man. Even I've learned my lesson. I used to read my reviews. I don't touch them anymore. I know, like, one thing I will say is it is hard. Like, it's still your baby. It's still your book. Like, the temptation is always there, but you need to find a way to say goodbye.
Yeah, and like, if you read it, you cannot make it the reviewer's problem. Like, it's your issue, and you cannot go. If you go to the reviews area, like that's not your place to be. If you get there, okay, but that's your problem then. Once again, today or yesterday, I saw some writer being absolutely devastated by her first 1-star review, and like, look, I understand it. It's sad, it's heartbreaking, but like, don't go there. And I mean, in the loveliest way possible, just don't go there.
That's the thing. There's so much discourse at the minute that, like, and if you go there, if you see a bad review, don't tweet about it. Because even if you've seen it, keep it to yourself. Like, because reviewers need to feel comfortable in the space, otherwise they are not gonna give you honest not feedback, but honest reviews of their work, and that's their job. That's what reviewers do. And some reviewers do go into a book with the intention to pick apart every detail and criticize every part of it. Of course they do. I've seen some very interesting reviews on my books before. I mentioned Judy's last week, and it's difficult, but you just don't do it. Like, someone tweeted today, should you learn something from a review as the author? And it's like, no. You learn things from your editor, from your beta readers, from your critique partners, from your agents. That's what they're there for. And if you don't have any, then find some, because you don't have to pay them. Some people will read for free.
Yeah.
But
By the time, but you don't have to. Like, you can go for constructive criticism, because there is always a lot, especially when it comes to like writing about identities that are not your own.
Yeah, and that's a different matter. Like, if your book generates discourse, then you should learn from what you've written. Like, that's the different thing, though. Like, just in general about your craft.
Yeah.
You should have already learned everything you need to have learned to publish the best book you can by the time it goes out. And if you haven't, that's when the problem starts. But you should not be, it's not constructive criticism, it's a review, and it's not for you, it's for the readers to decide whether they want to read it. So just don't fucking read it.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that we will probably talk about every week now, it feels like.
Yeah, it's still there. Like, that's why I brought it up again. Because of that tweet the other day, like, someone was really devastated. And you just can't be like, I do wonder sometimes what authors expect when they go into this, because like, I had the privilege of going to workshops at uni. So by the time that I'd finished that and graduated, I was already very much used to people like picking apart my work and telling me how to get better at it and having it in other people's hands. And it still didn't change the fact that I wanted to read my reviews for a really long time. But you do need to find some way or other to prepare yourself for your book reaching other people who are not you and who will not have the same opinions or likes or preferences as you do.
Yeah.
And it might help to read my article on Swords and Sapphics about starting 2023 the right way, because even though it's about writing a book, it does explore the process of that comes afterwards with beta readers and stuff. So
well, as we kind of mentioned for the next week's episode, we noticed this thing that every big movie with suffix is historic.
Yeah.
So we kind of take a look at a few, and we will talk about that next week.
Yeah. We shall explore suffix in a historical environment and why Hollywood seems to favor an environment of repression.
Yeah.
And forbidden love over modern day and queer joy and queer pride.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting, and I'm excited to give you my thoughts, because I really fucking loved Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
I'm excited. Yeah.
You know what? If you decide to watch it at night, I'm going to watch it with you.
I will watch it someday this week.
Okay.
Probably.
If you don't do it, if you don't watch at work, if you watch it in the evening, let me know, because I will watch it with you.
I will let you know for sure.
Because it was so good.
I'm very ready. I already downloaded it. You know what? I have to prepare myself for subtitles, because I unlearned myself with them when I learned English. And now I really don't want to go back.
I know, but you know what? When it's a good film,
you
do get used to it really easily.
Yeah.
You really do.
I was kind of hoping that I would find a version with either in Czech or in English. I didn't.
No, that's illegal. There's nothing quite as erotic as the French accent.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. Don't do it. Look.
No, I couldn't find it. I tried.
No, there's a reason for that. They've not dubbed it because, well, I suppose that's a different conversation, because then again, probably blind people would like to be able to listen to the film in their language. But for us able bodies, I must recommend you watch it in French with the subtitles, because it just feels, it's very fucking French in all the right ways. I think if they made it in any other language, it wouldn't have had nearly the appeal. Like, it's French at its heart. And I really love it. Have I mentioned that I really loved it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that is something to expect from us next week.
Yes. And after that, who knows?
Who knows?
We have much planned. No, we don't fucking know.
We do know. We have at least one idea that we want to do now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the episode we was planning to put out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Who fucking knows?
Who fucking knows? I don't know. I know nothing, Jon Snow.
Once again, if you're an author and you're looking for a spotlight for your books, we're always accepting guest articles and interviews. So do be sure to go to swordsandsapphics.com.
Yes.
If you are interested in being a guest.
Yes. And
always remember to support women's rights.
But most importantly, their wrongs. I don't have any unless. Unless their authors read reviews. And then bitch about it.
Yeah. Or unless they're very reckless with their life and you get upset because you're a sapphic mage who just wants her to be safe. That doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense, because that's a good wrong. Like, that's not a bad wrong.
Yeah, I can find nothing wrong with Chianthe and Rhaena.
No, there's nothing wrong. It was pure perfection. They're like, she kills someone, girly. She just had a bad day. Come on. She tires herself out. She's not reckless. So what? She's allowed. She's been overstressed. She's been working a lot. You know how it is. Yeah. So until next week. See you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile. Thank you for listening to Swords and Sapphics. You can enjoy a new episode every Wednesday.
While waiting, you can visit our website, swordsandsapphics.com, and find lots of articles, interviews, and guest pieces.
Feel free to contact us with any requests, questions, or inquiries through a form on our website or directly to our email, swordsandsapphics@gmail.com.